Talk a little bit about this card then. Obviously Savannah Marshall, somebody who's impressed in the lockdown period. There was a lot of great fights, but I think Savannah, when it came to especially female boxing, women's boxing, I think she sort of impressed a lot of people, because when you talk about women's boxing, there's still question marks. You want to be realistic. People are still saying, is it really for me or not? But people like Savannah, and you got Katie Taylor's, and then people are sort of waving the flag. What do you make of Savannah as a world champion?
Yeah, look, you're right. Look, Katie Taylor, for me, is the best pound-for-pound fighter in women's boxing, definitely. But there's a person in America, a girl in America, called Claressa Shields, who would beg to differ. And you know, Savannah Marshall holds a win over her in the World Championships. So there's already history between these two. That's a fight that has to happen. I think Savannah has really grown as a fighter the last few years. She's really, even more so since becoming a champion, I think she's really grown into that role. Her confidence is sky high. I think she's found, you know, she's really happy with Peter Fury. You can see she's going from strength to strength. And I expect her to win on Saturday night. I expect her to look good doing so. And I think it'll set up the fight for, you know, next year with Claressa Shields.
What happens in that fight then next year? If that fight was to happen next year, what happens in that fight?
I think it's a genuine. Look, I think Claressa Shields would start as favourite, definitely. But I think that Savannah Marshall is right in there. That's one of the best fights that can happen. Even not the best fight in women's boxing, that's probably the biggest fight. You know, Katie Taylor against the Serrano, and maybe that's the other one, Amanda Serrano. They're the two fights really that I want to see.
Another fighter on the card, Chris Eubank Jr. Obviously, he holds that Eubank name that boxing fans know. Speaking to him yesterday, he's saying, listen, this is just an opponent for the next opponent, but he wants a world title. In your eyes, knowing that middleweight division, do you think Chris can get a world title?
Yeah, I think he can. I think Golovkin is done now. I think he's, you know, Golovkin's the same age as me. You know, he's 40 next year, so he's. I think he's been. I think Golovkin was on the slide from even before the first Canelo fight. You know, he's slowly been deteriorating. You know, Chris Eubank Jr. had a couple of losses on his career. You know, one to Billy Joe Saunders, who's, you know, a master boxer. He'll have learned a lot from that. Then you know, he went in deep again against George Groves, another top fighter at super middle, which was a weight. He looked tiny compared to George Groves. Again, acquitted himself well, lost out, but acquitted himself well. You know, has come back since then, put a few wins together. I think the biggest enemy for Eubank has been his inactivity, but I think he needs momentum. I expect him to blast this guy out. I don't think this guy's going to tell us anything about Chris Eubank Jr., but I think it's a run out, it's momentum, it's a win, it's ring time, and he needs that. He's got a new trainer, Roy Jones Jr. They've only had the one fight, I believe, together, which was Marcus Morrison. He got a few rounds that night, so that was good. But he needs more rounds and he needs a couple more fights. You know, why sit there waiting? You know, he's ready for a world title shot. He's already been in deep. He's ready to go. So, but he just needs ring time. He needs momentum. He needs activity. So it's good that he's fighting. It's going to be difficult to get guys to fight him because, you know, I mean, top guys anyway, because they're not going to want to fight him because he's high risk. You know, very high risk. He doesn't have a world title. They'd rather sit on their ranking. So I'd imagine making matches for him, getting opponents, is difficult anyway. So, but rather than just sitting there and waiting around, it's good to see him just staying active. And I'd like to see him fight again before Christmas, you know, and then again early next year if the world title shot isn't there, and just keep fighting because he's going to get his shot. He's definitely going to get his shot. It's just from my point of view, I just want to see him stay busy until he gets it.
A fighter that's been calling him out on Twitter, especially, is Liam Williams. I think again this week he's called him out saying, listen, let's do it. What do you make of that fight? Would you want him to sort of go to that route, or do you just want him to push forward maybe and just look at the boys at the top? I know Liam Williams doesn't hold anything that Chris has said. He said that before, but is that a fight that interests you?
Oh, it's definitely a fight that interests me, without a doubt, from a fan. Of course, a good fight, but I understand why Chris Eubank Jr. probably thinks, well, what's in it for me? You know, he's going to get his shot, without a doubt. You know, Chris Eubank is going to get a shot at the world title, whether it's Golovkin or Charlo. You know, he's just got to keep winning, stay busy, stay active, keep winning. So, you know, Liam Williams, it's a tough fight, isn't it, Liam Williams? Let's be honest. So, you know, what's the upside in it for Chris Eubank Jr. apart from it being a good fight? So I don't know if that'll happen. I think if one of them, if Chris Eubank Jr. can win a world title, then I think he would definitely make a defence against Liam Williams.
I want to move away, and you spoke about the big man just at the start of the interview in Tyson Fury. Talk to me about him. He seems to have got the headlines again. You know, he went for Deontay Wilder in a back and forth fight. A lot of people didn't expect it to go the way it did. We obviously know Tyson Fury took control of it eventually, but give me your thoughts on Tyson Fury.
Oh, listen, he's established himself, hasn't he, as the best heavyweight of our era. That's undisputable now. He went in there after the layoff that he had, and let's be honest, they were two glorified spars after a 2.5-year layoff against Deontay Wilder, and he should have won the fight. I know they gave it a draw. I thought it was a bad decision. Most people thought he won that fight. Then he goes in the rematch with Wilder and just completely walks through him. Third fight, I thought this. I remember I tweeted this fight's going to be over in 4 rounds because Wilder came in so heavy. I thought he's gone for a shootout. He's put his eggs in one basket and he's gambling on it early, and it did kind of go that way. But yeah, he found the energy somewhere to keep getting up and staying in it, and then he rocked Fury and had him down and hurt. So it was an up and down affair. It was drama from start to finish. It was excitement. It was heart. It was grit. And then it was a brutal knockout in the end. So, and listen, it's good to see, even though belatedly so, that Wilder has come out since and acknowledged and given respect to Fury. Because listen, Fury, you got to respect the man. From what he came back from, the mental health issues, the weight he put on, where he was in a dark, low, horrible place, to pick himself up, that's a testament to the mental toughness of the man.
Who gives Fury the toughest test? We've got people like Dillian Whyte, who's going to be fighting Otto Wallin. If he wins that, he's going to be next in line for Tyson Fury. Obviously, Alexander Usyk, Joshua. If Usyk wins that, he's going to be fighting Fury. But in your eyes, who gives him the toughest test?
Do you know, I still think Andy Joshua gives him the best fight, or has got the most chance. Okay. I wouldn't pick Joshua to beat him. I think Fury beats him, but I think he's got a better chance because Joshua's, good jab. He's good at mid-distance, really good at mid-distance, good at slipping outside the jab, throwing the right hand over the top, dangerous with the uppercut on the inside. He's physically robust and strong enough not to be bullied on the inside by Fury. But here's the thing, I think Usyk is a terrible fight for AJ, even in the rematch. Like unless there's we only get to see what happens on the night. We don't know what's gone on in training camp. Was he ill? Did he have bad sparring? Was he injured? I'm not saying there was, and I'm not making excuses for him. What I'm saying is, when there's a performance, if you feel like you didn't perform to your best, what was the reason? And we're just the fans watching it, or the TV people watching it. We're just looking at it on the performance on that night, assuming everything's equal and everything was good going in. Then I don't really see how he beats him unless he jumps on him early. But then you're gambling, because if you jump on him and you go for it and you don't get him out of there in 3, 4, 5 rounds, you're probably going to blow a gasket and then you're going to get done. So, but I think that's the only way he beats him. But you're gambling. You're either going to win big or you're going to lose big. I think Usyk is not a good fight for Joshua. It's a bad style for him, and styles make fights. That said, I think Fury, the best chance of anyone beating Fury is probably Anthony Joshua, because of what the assets and attributes that he's got. Really good at mid-distance, great at slipping outside the jab, throwing the right hand over the top of it. Got a good, solid jab himself. Brilliant uppercut, left hook. So, I still think AJ is probably the best fight. Outside of Wilder. Because Wilder, they're not going to do a fourth one. That chapter's closed now. Fury was the dominant guy there, but now that Wilder's out the way, I think the guy who's got the best chance, and I don't think he would beat Fury, but he's got the best chance of beating Fury, is Anthony Joshua. I think Joshua outboxes Usyk quite easily, but I think Usyk is a bad fight for Joshua. Stars make fights. Yeah. You've seen it down in the history. Kenny Norton and Joe Frazier with Muhammad Ali. And then, George Foreman blew those guys out. But then Muhammad Ali stops George Foreman. Stars make fights.
Where does Dillian Whyte fit into all of this then? We know he's been waiting in the ring for so long, but where does he fit into all of this then? Yeah,
listen, Dillian Whyte's in there as well, in terms of people that can give Fury a challenge. Do I think he beats Fury? Listen, I don't think anyone beats Fury at the minute in the heavyweight division with the form he's in. I think he's the top man. But what I do think is this: the man deserves his shot. He's earned his shot. He's the mandatory guy. He deserves his shot, and I hope he gets it.
I want to ask you 2 quick questions, 2 quick predictions. Crawford versus Shawn Porter. Just give me your thoughts on that fight.
I think that's going to be an amazing fight. Shawn Porter gives it. Everyone fits. Errol Spence. It was all Errol Spence could do to beat him. He did beat him, and it was a great performance. But it was a great fight. You know, Porter played his part in that. But I think Crawford's special. I think Crawford could stop him late on.
Final one, Canelo-Plant. What do you make of that fight, and who wins that one?
Listen, I think Canelo's untouchable right now in and around that weight. I think anyone, middleweight, super middleweight, even light heavy, maybe he could even beat Beterbiev, I'm not sure, I don't know. But I don't think anyone at super middleweight beats Canelo.
Cool, Matt. I know you wanted back up with Sky, so thank you very much for giving us the time.